Dynamic entrance kicking in the door like that. Turn up to the max, shooting energy up to the sky. Tap into the station 935, it's time to rock. Swooshy color backgrounds just to let you know we fly. Undefeated, never beaten, cause we got the skills. Striking all this black gold, you would think we had a drill. We got what you need, homie, so come and get your fill. Relax and unwind, it's time to anime and chill. It's time to anime and chill. Relax and unwind, it's time to anime and chill.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Anime and Chill with your favorite two N-words. We are the biggest anime nerds. We can say it, you can't. Unfortunately, this evening, my partner is not with me. He had an emergency, so I'm riding solo dolo tonight. But what I wanted to talk about tonight was there's a couple of things. Mainly I want to talk about fantasy factions or fantasy booking in wrestling. I'm gonna get to that a little bit later in the show. I want to talk about some fantasy booking a little bit later on in the show, but I think I kind of want to start it out with like let's start it out with a lineup: DC versus Marvel. Okay, my DC versus Marvel lineup looks like this. You got Superman versus Thor, Iron Man versus Batman, Captain America versus Wonder Woman, The Flash versus Quicksilver. Who else am I missing? Green Lantern can take on Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. Just off the top of my head, the reason I picked Superman and Thor, because technically they're kind of on the same playing field. You got Superman, who's this alien who has these godlike powers. He can do everything under the sun as far as laser eyes, ice breath, super speed, flight, super strength, you name it. He's pretty much an OP character. And then on the other side, you've got Thor, who's somewhat an OP character in his own right, but Marvel knows how to make it so that Thor is not so OP, that he still kind of fits in with the other heroes, so that it's like it's still a team. Everyone has their specialties, and not everybody is trying to be a jack of all trade. Whereas Superman is technically a one-stop shop with the superpowers. Like I said, he's got ice breath, laser vision, flight, super strength, super speed. He's a Superman. And the reason I didn't put him up against Cap is not only because he can fly, but because the strength aspect, for as strong as Captain America is, Thor is in fact a god. You know what I mean? Thor is the Superman, so to speak, of the Marvel universe, even though they frame it like Cap would be the Superman of the Marvel universe. He's not. Cap would more likely match up with Wonder Woman. See, Wonder Woman is technically an Amazon descended from a goddess. So she's not a full-on god, but she does have godlike powers without it coming across as being too OP. Between that, the shield that she wields, the lasso of truth the sword that she wields. I'm sorry, it's a little late. I've been editing all night, but nah. So I matched Cap up with Wonder Woman because, as I said, on paper they kind of match out better. They both have the shield. They both have the strong willpower. They both represent their nations, so to speak. Let's get into. I know I said the Flash versus Quicksilver. I might want to change that to Spider-Man, but for the sake of this argument, let's do the Flash versus Spider-Man. You got speed versus agility and hypersensation. And what do I mean by hypersensation? I mean the Spidey senses. He can sense when danger is near him. He can move very fast. He's super agile. Like he clings to walls, and then on top of that, he is like the comic relief, so to speak, for the Marvel comics. But then again, Marvel has so many comic reliefs, it's not funny, pun intended. So no. As far as Spider-Man and Flash matching up, some people are like, well, Flash would just destroy Spider-Man because of Flash's speed. But here's the thing. You got to take into account Spider-Man is fast as well. He might not be the fastest man alive, but when you take into consideration his Spidey sense on top of his agility, and you combine that with the danger situations that you put him in, Spider-Man can, how can I say this? He can pretty much analyze a situation in a matter of seconds and come up with a battle plan to defeat his opponent. Flash has the same thing, except for the Flash, it's more like time damn near stops. And it's not so much that he's taking the multiple scenarios into consideration in a matter of seconds. No, he's literally stopping time and breaking down each second, looking at the scenario at that moment, looking at all the possible outcomes before he moves forward another moment. You see what I mean? So on that note, I think I would give the battle to the Flash. As much as I love Spider-Man, I think I would give that battle to the Flash. Batman versus Iron Man. Come on, man. It's the battle of the billionaires. Everybody wants to see that. We thought we were going to get it with Batman v Superman, with the original version that was supposed to have Bryan Cranston play Lex Luthor, and they were going to bring Bruce Wayne in, not as Batman, but as Bruce Wayne. They were going to do the battle of the billionaires. That's how they were going to build toward the Justice League. But studios got involved, and we all know how that goes. But beyond the fact that they're both billionaires, they're both tech geniuses. Like Batman and Iron Man are almost one and the same. You know what I mean? The difference is Batman saw his parents murdered before his eyes. Iron Man learned about it later. So that could also lead into Tony Stark's arrogance, his narcissism, and his just all-out cockiness and just being an asshole. But that's because he's such a genius. And usually they say that genius and madness they go hand in hand. That there's a thin line between madness and brilliance. And that most of the time, the most brilliant people that are known. Sorry about that, thunderstorms. Yeah, got that too. But people that are known as some of the most intelligent people in the room or in the world even, they feel this emptiness, this unfulfilledness of no one can satisfy me intellectually, because as long as I'm the smartest person in the room, there's never going to be any challenge. So they come across everything, or they come across as arrogant and narcissistic because they feel like, well, I'm the only person I can count on. So why should I even deal with anybody else? I'm the smartest person in the room. I can figure out damn near everything that I need. But on to the battle between the two of them. Again, they both have contingency plans for the other members for their teams, just in case one member goes rogue or is turned by enemy forces. These two have contingencies in place. And as far as Batman, he even has a contingency for in case he goes rogue and in case he gets turned. So on that standpoint, I think I would give that battle to Batman over Iron Man, simply because Batman has the wherewithal and the self-awareness to say, hey, nobody is unbeatable. That includes myself. Just in case I'm captured by the enemy and turned against my friends, here's what to do. Stark, I don't think, has a contingency plan for himself, because he sees himself as the hero. He sees himself as the good guy, so he feels he doesn't need a contingency plan for himself. They talked a little bit about that in Age of Ultron. No, not Age of Ultron, Civil War, I'm sorry. In Captain America Civil War, when Iron Man spoke about the fact that the Avengers need checks and balances, because they're getting to the point that the collateral damage is exceeding minimal amounts. It's touching back home. You see what I mean? And in the scene that they had with Alfred Woodard's character, where she showed him the picture and said, yeah, this is my son, you killed him in Sokovia, and kind of played on his guilt. That's when we started to see the narcissism and the ego start to crack and fade a little bit. You see what I mean? So Tony Stark, if you are able to damage his ego, becomes very vulnerable, like an oyster without a shell, so to speak. Sorry, it's a terrible analysis, but like I said, it's late. I've been up, well, not up all night, but I've been recording since like 5 or 6 in this afternoon, and it's going on 10 o'clock tonight. Between recording and mixing and mastering, boy, I'm out here grinding. Y'all need to get like me, man. But so let's do Hawkeye and Green Arrow. that kind of harkens back to the whole Batman Iron Man thing. It kind of goes hand in hand. Only in this situation, it's Green Arrow that's more of the arrogant narcissist, and Hawkeye is more of the calculating, precision striker who's more mature and who, you know what I mean, tends to think and like I said, is the type of person that would have a contingency even for himself. He knows that as a hero that there are checks and balances, but also at the same time, as a hero, when you fight, you gotta fight with your all. He knows that. Whereas Oliver, being a billionaire who had to go through a hardship in order to gain his skills. Now, if you look at the Arrowverse that they have on the CW, they give a more in-depth character dive to Green Arrow, but outside of that, Green Arrow is more along the lines of an Iron Man, whereas he's narcissistic because he knows that he has the money to pay for everything that he needs. He has the fighting skill. He has the sharp shooting ability with the arrows. So, but also he feels that he is righteous, and he feels that as the righteous party that he shouldn't come across too much of a struggle, that, you know, because he's righteous, his righteous willpower should win over in the end. Whereas Hawkeye knows, okay, sometimes you're not on the right side, and sometimes in order to win the fight, you have to lose it. You see what I mean? But I don't want to keep harping on too much on the Marvel thing. I also want to get into a little bit of anime. Again, tonight I was gonna have my partner talk to you guys about some Naruto. Maybe in the future I could get one of my other friends. Y'all may know him as Ebo the Coolest. If I could get him in here to talk to me about some Death Note, because he's really big into that. So, and again, I'm not really a fan of Death Note. I haven't tried to watch it. I think that I might, but again, as far as Naruto goes, yeah, I did try to watch that. I even got to Shippuden, but in my opinion, Naruto is very melodramatic. It's very serious, and they don't have a lot of comedy to cut the tension. So they build you up with something so heavy that when they do hit the climax, it's like, dude, you need a breath before you go into it. You're like, dude, everything here is just heavy. And it's like the stakes are enormous, and the weight of the world is on our shoulders. And it's, to me, that show, it's good. I'm not gonna say I don't like Naruto, because I do. I just find it hard to watch because of how melodramatic and serious in tone it is, without cutting the tension to relieve you of that stress. So it's like they build you up with stress, and then they leave you knotted up. You see what I mean? They don't massage your back and tell you, oh, no, it's okay to laugh. It's okay to laugh. Whereas with One Piece, yes, I bring that up a lot because, as I say, that is my favorite anime. Second to Dragon Ball Z, but kind of on par with Dragon Ball Z. Because I love Dragon Ball Z. Even with Dragon Ball Super, I love Dragon Ball Super. But I feel that with Dragon Ball Super being released damn near 20 years after Dragon Ball Z ended, and some could argue, oh, but what about Dragon Ball GT? Toriyama has come out and said that Dragon Ball GT is not canon. And for those who don't know who Toriyama is, I'm talking about Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super. He did create Dragon Ball GT, but the writers on GT were not the same writers that were on Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and who are now on Dragon Ball Super. So that's why Toriyama has come out and said that, no, Dragon Ball GT is not canon. I'm sorry for those of you who were Dragon Ball GT fans who loved Baby Vegeta and all of that, but no, I'm sorry. Dragon Ball GT is not canon. But talking about One Piece and the difference between One Piece and Naruto. Some people don't like One Piece because they feel that it's too goofy, it's too silly. But here's the thing. One Piece does have moments of levity where they do build up the drama, but then once they get to a level of high drama, either they cut to another scene that has comedy in it, or they find a way to drop a joke to kind of break the tension or ease the tension, so to speak, so that you're not just so wound up about this situation and, all right, so when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Oh man, it's happening. Oh man, it's so devastating. And One Piece will set you up. Usually what it is, they get to an island or a country that's being run by a dictator or terrorist, but dictator. Tyrant is the word I was looking for, not terrorist. Tyrant, either a dictator or a tyrant. And usually that tyrant and or dictator has manipulated the people of the country into thinking that what he's doing is right for the country. You do have some people in the country who know that it's not right. You do have some people in the country who rebel against the narrative. But at the same time, the people who rebel are often caught with apprehension, getting beat up, maybe getting killed, something. So they build you up and they give you this just unforgivable monster of a person, because not all the time is it a monster. It's 9 times out of 10 a person with monstrous abilities like devil fruits. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But no, so they're usually tyrants and or dictators that are trying to rule their country with an iron fist. In comes this kid, this 19-year-old, well, during the time skip, he's 19. But when they first started out, Luffy is 17. So say here comes this 17-year-old kid, this 18-year-old kid, who shows up on an island and starts telling the people, I'm going to free you. I'm going to get rid of that dictator because no one should be allowed to tell people how to live. No one should be allowed to dictate how people live their lives or what they do. And the people that he tells this to, they often either scoff at him or laugh at him, and you're crazy, you can't go up against this person is unbeatable. The last champions that we've had that tried to beat them were demolished in grand fashion, and so it's like the people lose hope, and Luffy just brings the hope back by continuing on his mission. And when he does get to fight the big boss, the dictator, it's not like a one-sided, oh, he shows up and just kicks the guy's ass. No. It's a fight. It's a real fight. Like, they show you how strong and powerful the enemy is, and then they have Luffy match up with this guy and then surpass him. You see what I mean? So it's like you have a hero character, but it's framed in the character of a pirate who, by all means, is technically a criminal, a villain. They pose the bad guys as good guys and the good guys as bad guys. The Marines are corrupt. They show you that the government itself is corrupt. And so it flips the age-old question of what's good and what's bad. It's all a matter of perspective. Now, I want to talk about devil fruits. Devil fruits are are fruits that grow in nature in the One Piece world. They grow in nature, and they grant the consumer, and by consumer I mean the person that eats the fruit, the person who consumes the fruit. It grants that person a certain type of power. There are 3 different types of fruit. The first being a paramecia, which gives the consumer the ability to take on the properties of a material, such as Luffy with his gum ability and being rubber. You see what I mean? And then you have Zoan fruits, which grant the consumer the ability to transform into an animal. And upon doing so, they have 3 transformation stages. The first being their human form, the second being their hybrid form, and the third being their animal form. Then you have Logia fruits. Now, Logias are the most rare fruits. Well, not the most rare. They're one of the rarest fruits. I'm gonna get to the most rare in a second. The Logia fruits grant the consumer the ability to take on the aspects of an element, such as light, as in Vice Admiral Kizaru's power. He has the light fruit, which pretty much means he's living light. He's light. He's the living manifestation of light. He can compress light. He can shoot compressed light, which comes out as lasers. He can use the light to create a tangible sword. So, yeah. As far as the most rare fruits, there are 2 extremely rare fruits. The first is Zoans, the exotic Zoans, the mythical creatures, or those that might just be one. I think that's one subset. Yeah, it's not 2 subsets. It's the one subset. The Zoans, the mythical Zoans, the legendary. They pretty much grant you the ability to take on the properties of legendary or mytholic creatures, such as Marco and his phoenix fruit. It's actually called the bird fruit model phoenix. With the different fruits granting different powers based on the type of fruit that's consumed, the possibilities are endless. The combinations for battles and stuff like that is crazy. Now, I will say, as far as the devil fruit goes, the lore states that no one person can consume 2 devil fruits. They don't explain why. They just say no one person can consume 2 devil fruits. That is until you get to the main antagonist of the show, that being Marshall D. Teach Blackbeard, who has found a way to consume 2 devil fruits. Again, they didn't explain how he did it. I'm guessing they're waiting to reveal that towards the end of the series, when they want to go in depth into his character full on. So far, we've only gotten surface level character building. I'm sorry, I'm kind of spacing because, like I said, I've been here for a while. But that brings me to fantasy booking with wrestling. Now, for those who don't know, in the fandom, and by fandom I mean the wrestling fans, I'm sorry if I'm condescending. I don't mean to be condescending right now. It's late and I'm trying to think. For those that don't know, fantasy booking is when you write a fantasy story based on a scenario in wrestling where you book an angle, and don't worry, I'm gonna let you know what those words are in a second. When you book an angle from start to finish that has not been done, that you want to see done. It's almost like fan fiction. It is fan fiction. I'm sorry. Okay, so I am not a wrestling insider, and I use those terms in quotations. I say that because as a fan, I know that other fans in the fandom love to use insider terminology, such as the word booking, which really just means promoting or hiring a performer to perform a certain act, a certain event, or performing at a certain event. There you go. An angle, all that is pretty much a storyline. So when you book an angle, you're pretty much writing the storyline for how you want things to go. You're coming up with like an outline for the storyline that you want to tell, because you don't want to script it because it'll sound too rigid and structured. You want to kind of keep it fluid. That way you can, if you need to move characters around, if you need to, do title changes, whatever the case may be, when you're doing your fantasy booking, you can do that. I want to, at some point, I am going to do a fantasy booking for the 4 horsewomen of WWE versus the 4 horsewomen of MMA. That, because as a fan, I know that's a storyline that is very, very, very like demanded. Like that is anticipated beyond anybody's wildest dreams. They teased us with it at the Mae Young Classic in 2018. Yeah. And how they teased us was they gave us Charlotte, Becky, and Bayley showed up to the Mae Young Classic to support the women who were competing. But then on the other side, you had Ronda Rousey, Marina Shafir, and Jessamyn Duke, who were there to support Shayna Baszler, who was competing in the Mae Young Classic. Long story short, they had a segment backstage, well, not so much backstage, more like in a parking lot, where the 3 horsewomen of WWE ran into 3 of the 4 horsewomen of the MMA, and they had the stare down, and the challenge was laid down where the horsewoman of WWE said, you name the place, you name the time, and the horsewoman of MMA said, we're ready anytime, any place, let's go. But we never got the 4-on-4 match. We never got the one-on-one battles between the 4 of them. Like, even if they would have given us, if I was gonna book 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen storyline, I would first line them up individually before I started building towards the group battle. So, namely, here's how my rivalries would start out. It would be Ronda and Becky, Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch, because those two have proven that they can carry the talking point, that they have the talking ability. That's not to say that Shayna or Charlotte don't, because they do. They absolutely do. But here's the thing, with Shayna and Charlotte, that battle would be more focused on a battle of technicians more than a battle of wills or a battle of charisma. Like Becky versus Ronda would be a battle of charisma. Charlotte versus Shayna would be a battle of technique. And then for the other 4, I would do a tag match. Bayley and Sasha taking on Marina Shafir and Jessamyn Duke. But before you did that, you would really have to give Marina and Jessamyn some more in-ring time. Not to say that they can't wrestle, but they're very much MMA fighters, if that makes any sense. It's like they're very matter of fact with their wrestling abilities. They know what they want to do and they do it. They don't take into consideration whether or not they need to sell a move, because that's one thing that I haven't seen them do. But then again, I haven't watched wrestling since the beginning of 2020. But no, yeah. So to give them little short, I wouldn't say full-on rivalries, but just give them quick tag matches to kind of help build their comfortability in the ring, to help build their confidence with selling. Because I know with MMA fighters, some of them have a thing of, oh, for me to sell makes it look fake, and I'm not fake, and I don't do fake. But here's the thing, when you're choreographing a fight, you have to make it look good. If it's one-sided, it doesn't look good. And in my opinion, out of the four horsewomen of MMA, the one that, in my opinion, has transitioned into wrestling the best is Shayna Baszler. Now, Shayna Baszler, then again, her father and her uncle are both wrestling coaches. And she started learning how to wrestle before she started learning how to grapple in MMA. So, in my opinion, and then when she did start grappling in MMA, she was trained by Josh Barnett, who taught her how the art of promos. That when she would do her interview, he wouldn't let her give a bland interview of, oh, my opponent is this, that, and the third, and they're a good opponent, and we're gonna give it our best. And no, he told her to be a character. He told her to, when she did an interview, you do that interview like a pro wrestler. And so that's what she took to. So now that she's in professional wrestling, it's like a fish to water, man. Her promos are very believable. They're when she talks, there's an air of reality behind it. So, yeah, man. I would more than likely have Shayna Baszler in a rivalry with Charlotte Flair, because, as I said, Charlotte Flair is, the two of them are, like, in my opinion, the greatest technicians in their division at the moment. Charlotte might be a little more touted than Shayna, simply because of who Charlotte's father is, but that's not to say that Charlotte doesn't work her ass off, because she does. Anybody who's watched any of her matches can tell you, yeah, no, Charlotte works her ass off. But as far as Marina and Jessamyn and working with Bayley and Sasha, I think Bayley and Sasha might be able to bring out the showmanship that I think Marina and Jessamyn sorely need, because they have the legitimacy, they have the reality, but they also need the showmanship. They need the presentation, which they haven't quite got that down yet. You see what I'm saying? It's like you can be the best wrestler in the world, but if you can't show that, if when they put you in the ring, you're so focused on being the best technician or the best striker, or, you know what I'm saying, the best, when you're the best technician or best submission specialist, you know how to wrestle a match and make your opponent look like the greatest thing in the world, even if they're not. And in my opinion, the four women that do that the best are Charlotte, Shayna Baszler, Bayley, and Sasha. Now, I know some of you are saying, oh, well, why didn't you pick Becky? Why didn't you pick Becky? Because in my opinion, Becky is great, but you have to be at her level or better in order for y'all to have a good match. What do I mean by that? Let's look at someone that she faced who was, in my opinion, below her level, that being Lacey Evans, who needed more training. The matches that they had were full of Becky shouting instructions, trying to get this young lady to get to her mark, trying to get her. If Becky was truly a great technician, she would have been able to either manipulate the situation, or when her opponent missed her cue, was able to read the miscue and redirect without, you know what I mean, without stopping the match, so to speak. A good example of two really great technicians in the ring, Charlotte versus Asuka, WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans. That match, hell, the build-up was amazing, man. You had the unbeaten, undefeatable Asuka going against the reigning champion, that being Charlotte Flair. That match, they gave you stakes, they built it up, and it was just a clinic of the two of them targeting a body part to set up for their finish. And the match, like, breaking Asuka's streak. In my opinion, I wouldn't have broke Asuka's streak, but all good things must come to an end, as does this podcast. I've been droning on for way too long. As I stated earlier in the podcast, my partner's not with me. He had an emergency. So, yeah, you guys got me. I hope I didn't drone on too long for you. I hope I wasn't too robotic or anything like that. Yeah. We're gonna end on the last word. What's the word? Nerd. The word nerd is balance. Learning how to balance all things, whether that be your business life and your social life, your family, your friends, your work, with your home, whatever the case may be. Learning how to make a less talented opponent look like they're on your level or better. So, if you haven't got that Fly 93.5 app, go ahead and get that. You can go on your Google Play or your App Store and grab that, or wherever you get your apps from. If you can't get it that way, you can go holler at us online at radio.fly935.com. You can tap listen live, or you can go to a podcast. We got what you need, man. Come holler at us. It's your one-stop shop for everything hip-hop and more. So, cuddle up with your favorite person, throw on your favorite anime, and cool out, man. It's time to anime and chill. Peace.
Dynamic entrance kicking in the door like that. Turn up to the max, shooting energy up to the sky. Tap into the station 935, it's time to rock. Swooshy color backgrounds just to let you know we fly. Undefeated, never beaten, cause we got the skills. Striking all this black gold, you would think we had a drill. We got what you need, homie, so come and get your fill. Relax and unwind, it's time to anime and chill. It's time to animate you. Relax and unwind, it's time to animate you.